Yeah, live. Hey,
What my
everybody.
wonderful Black Pros family.
I know. What up? What up? Welcome to Black Prose Book Club, where Black lives, Black books, and Black writers have always mattered. I'm one of your hosts tonight, Oshale of Oshi Reads.
I am Brittany, aka Melanin Eclectic, and today we are actually here to talk about a book.
It's so exciting. It's been a long time. We have not talked about a book since Mariah Carey.
Yeah, it's been a little bit. We've
Been a
kind of
minute.
life's been trying to kick us in the foot. So,
Not the foot. Oh my
the foot
goodness.
is trying to take us all out of our mobility.
But I'm excited. We're talking about Hollywood Homicide tonight by Kellye Garrett. And if you read the book, that's great. If you didn't read it, highly recommend. I listened to the audiobook, so I highly recommend the audiobook. It was everything I didn't even realize that I needed. It was so
Yeah.
good.
I have to say, I give major props to the audiobook and the voice actress behind the audiobook really sold it for me.
Oh, she killed it. Her performance
Yeah,
was amazing.
yeah, she definitely was like I'm going to read book 2.
Oh, I need to read book 2 because I need to know how Dana and what's his name, Aubrey S. Grant, whatever his name is, are going to solve this next mystery. I need to.
Also, like whoever he is, he sounds really attractive, but we'll get to that.
He does, the Aubrey guy, right?
Yeah, the detective dude,
He does.
he sounds stacked, and I was like, all right.
Like when she mentioned how like she like accidentally like hugged him, or maybe it wasn't an accident, I can't remember, but she felt his abs,
Yeah.
and I was like, that's serious. That's serious.
Right. But okay, hold on. Oh gosh.
So I don't know how to talk about a mystery book because it's different when you talk about a mystery book because you don't want to spoil it and you don't want to talk about all the clues and all the twists and the turns because that's the fun of reading a mystery is
So,
putting all the puzzle pieces together.
so let's just start. I'll read the premise, okay?
Okay.
So it's actress Dana Anderson's deadly new role as Hollywood detective. Dana Anderson doesn't set out to solve a murder. All the semi-famous, mega broke actress wants to do is help her parents keep their house. So after witnessing a deadly hit and run, she pursues the 15-grand reward. But Dana soon finds herself doing a full-on investigation, wanting more than just money. She wants justice for the victim. She chases down leads at paparazzi hotspots, celeb homes, and movie premieres, loving every second of it until someone tries to kill her. And there are no second takes in real life.
I
Yeah.
will say that I really loved how this book opened because I went into it pretty much blind. I didn't even read the description. I knew it was a murder mystery featuring a Black woman like solving it. That's all I knew. And
Okay.
I loved how it opened because I wasn't expecting it. And I will say that about the book because I don't read a lot of mysteries. So I don't really know how, like, I don't know the formula for a mystery story because I don't really read them. It's not my genre that I read often. But I enjoyed how, as each character was introduced and as they unfolded, they were so well thought out, so three dimensional, and they weren't what I was expecting, if that made sense.
Yeah, I can see that.
And the friend group was also very unexpected because they all were kind of misfits in a way. Like they weren't the personalities that you would expect to be friends. If that, like, I would never expect Dana and Sienna to be best friends just because they're so different. And even with Emmy and Amari a little bit. So I liked that. I liked the juxtaposition between all of the main characters.
Yeah, I can say that again, listening to the audiobook, I really felt like I got to understand their personalities. Obviously I was obsessed with Emmy the most.
Oh, really? Emmy was your favorite?
Well, yeah, because Emmy's the one with the twin sister, right?
Yes, Emmy and Tony.
Okay, but like there's this like undenied, it's like it was like, listen, I might not really care about too much what my sister does. Don't necessarily really care what she do, but don't come for my sister because I will try to kill you.
That was great to see their bond, their twin bond. And
Yeah.
I also really enjoyed, okay, so one of the things I really enjoyed in the book is how you could tell that the author is very familiar with Hollywood and very familiar with LA, because LA was also like another character in the book, the way she described the neighborhoods, the streets, the buildings, the different parts of LA. So you could tell that Kellye Garrett is very familiar with LA, or at least has done a lot of research, if she's not, because LA was an additional character. And then what I loved about the Emmy Tony bond and also their characters is some of her characters were kind of like throwbacks, not throwbacks, but I'm trying to think of the right word. Were like I can't think of the word right now, but they reminded me of real Hollywood actors. So Tony and Emmy
Oh, they
reminded
were like
me of Mary Kate and
homages.
Ashley.
Oh my
They were
gosh.
Mary Kate and Ashley. Don't you see it now? Because it
You
was like
think
Emmy
so?
quit acting, and they gave me Mary Kate and Ashley vibes. Them being blonde and thin, and they were both babies on that like TV show. Dana mentioned that they grew up
Oh my
being like
gosh.
twin
Now that
babies on
you're
a
saying
sitcom.
that,
Yeah,
that definitely
they
reminds
were.
me.
Yeah, they were
That's
Mary Kate and Ashley.
hilarious.
And then they talked about this one actor who this line was such a dig, but they mentioned this one actor who dated barely legal models and wasn't fond of showers. And I immediately was like, Leonardo DiCaprio.
Oh, snap.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Immediately. I was like, oh. And just like there were little digs like that, like the actors that they had in their Hollywood. Dana would say one or two lines about them, and immediately I would click and I'd be like, oh, that's such and such. So it's like she took inspiration from real actors. So that was cool. I really enjoyed that, and that action star, that, where they were like, oh, and he did this in the movie. I was like, Tom Cruise. Immediately. It was just cool to see the guy that they thought was getting, oh, I don't want to give anything away. It's so hard to review a mystery.
Yeah, so it's like we're just kind of focusing on the characters that we're only going to focus on like the main characters, because some of the characters kind of give a part of the story. But yeah, honestly, now that you're saying this, now I feel like I need to go back and reread the book, because when I tell you I caught none of those.
Are you serious?
None. Not
What?
one. I feel very baffled right now.
Like she would literally mention, and Omari was giving me he was giving me, oh God, what is the name of that actor who's always in those police shows that is super fine? Shamar Moore. He was giving me Shamar Moore vibes hard.
Oh, man.
Like every time like he walked into the room and like the women would be drooling all over him and how she described him. And I was like, oh, Shamar Moore, like all the way, like a young Shamar Moore.
I'm so disappointed in myself.
It's all good, girl. I'm just very like, I don't know, maybe it's because I just finished listening to it recently, so it's fresh in my mind. And the audiobook was great too, because you could really hear the way the book was written was also really great, because it was very comedic, and Dana had a lot of like sassy, like petty things to say at times, and the way she would word things, and she was just like funny. She was the kind of funny where she was like unintentionally funny, but she was funny.
She was funny and rude, so I really appreciated that, because she came like the way that she talked about her homegirl with the red. I was like,
yes,
you gotta calm down. You coming at her real hard, like
Sienna, who wanted to be a reality star.
Yes.
She wanted to be famous.
Who do you think Sienna reminds you of then, since everybody reminds you of someone?
I was trying to place it for the longest time, because to me, Sienna was kind of like a hodgepodge of not necessarily even actors, but just like this idea of wanting to be famous for the sake of being famous. Mm-hmm. Like, like those like the Kardashians, or she definitely was very Kim Kardashian-esque at times. And some of the things that she was
super loaded from like her dead husband.
Exactly. She was like married. Well, she like married this guy, and who was older than her, and then they got a divorce, and she got all this money, and then she's just very like into herself, but not in a bad way. Just very into herself, always going out. So it gave me very like, Paris Hilton socialite, Kim Kardashian type vibes, but then she was also more interesting than those two women. No offense to them. But she was just more interesting. She had a little bit more of an edge to her. So I just think she was more of an idea than an actual allusion to a real actor, a real person. She was more of an idea of just like that girl that comes out to Hollywood that just wants to be famous and not necessarily wants to be famous for anything in particular, but just wants to be famous to be famous. I feel like you're like rethinking everything now. You're like, hold on.
I really am, because I read the book, I read the book 2 months ago.
Exactly. So it's probably
my
why
brain is doing flips like, did you catch that at all, sis? Or did you just miss her entirely?
Also, can we talk about how the Rat Pack was a direct allusion to that ring that was going on in Hollywood years ago? There was this like ring of criminals that was stealing from people's houses. And two of the girls in the ring, they actually made a reality show using those girls and their family, and it was on E! So that's what that reminded me of. The bling ring. Thank you, Miss WOC reader. Yeah. So they actually
made. Oh my gosh, the bling ring.
Yes. Remember, they were like teenagers and young adults that were breaking into celebrities' homes and stealing stuff, and then they got caught. And they made a movie out of it. And two of the girls that were in the ring were like these young, rich girls, and they gave them their own show. They had a reality show. I think they had it was on for like a season or two, and that show was a hot.
Like, I know this was about a mystery, but Kellye Garrett did a really good job of reminding us about all the drama that's in LA, apparently.
So much drama. Like that scene where she describes that restaurant where everyone goes to be seen and how the food is all overpriced and how just walking through. And what did Dana say? She was just like, half of like the freaking, I don't even know I can't remember what she said, but it was really funny. But she's basically saying that like, oh, half of the cast of like all the movies on the box office are here right now. And I was like, that's hilarious. But I was like, yeah, they do have that whole like culture of wanting to be seen and photographed and wanting to be at the latest hotspots. So yeah, I really enjoyed that about the story. And I'm trying to think what else.
Oh, here's a question that I wanted to ask you.
Oh, yes.
While you were reading, did you try to guess who did it?
I did, and I had a couple people in mind.
And how wrong were you?
I was wrong on all counts. Counts.
Me too.
And I was just like, oh, wow. Okay. I did not see that coming. Okay. But again, like mystery is not like my forte.
Okay. So I used to love reading mystery books. Like when I first started just picking up adult books, I was picking up mysteries. Like I even read a book where it was supposed to be about Sherlock Holmes' daughter.
What?
I was that obsessed with mysteries. Yeah. But I had 3 guesses.
Okay.
And my second guess was correct, but I negated my second guess because I thought I was wrong. So I picked the third one.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And then I was so mad. I was like, no.
That's funny. Yeah, it was.
Or go ahead.
Oh, no, please finish.
Oh, no, I was saying like, I like mystery books where it's engaging enough to where you can try to feel like you can solve it.
Yes.
And so it's not just, well, you're just going to have to read the book. And then at the end, we're going to explain to you everything, all the reasons why.
Right.
Whereas this book was like, this is what's happening. As it's happening, can you figure out what she's trying to figure out?
It definitely was like that. It was like we were on along for the ride with her.
Yes.
And that's what made it so interesting to read, because as a character, she was so interesting.
She was. Also, the way that she thought about things was really interesting too.
The way she thought about things was hilarious. She was very much that person. That person that always gets into like these situations and you're like, how did you get yourself into this mess?
How did you get here?
Like, how did this occur? Like, how did we end up here? She was very much that type of character. which made it even more entertaining to read about. Because I remember a scene in particular where she was at the clothing store and she was supposed to try to find out some information and she failed so epically.
Oh yeah, because oh excuse me, she was still an amateur. Like she's not an actual detective. Like she's
Nope.
like the description said, she's literally trying to figure out who committed this murder so she can get the money because she's super broke.
And she's trying to help her parents not lose their home.
Right.
I liked that personal touch. Like she wasn't just in it for herself. And I definitely felt her pain in the very beginning of the book where it opens up with, you know, her failed acting career and her trying to get a job and not even getting hired as a bikini server in that bar, which must have been so embarrassing. I can't even imagine. And then how she had to scrape up together the money for gas because she ran out of gas. I was like, ooh, girl, we have all been there.
I felt a different type of struggle. I was like,
how she's living in the bedroom closet of Sienna, the Blazet.
Okay, can we talk about the Blazet for a second? I've been waiting for this. First of all, I just want to know what it would be like to have a Blazet in the first place.
I don't want to live in a closet
that's big enough for your friend to sleep in, honey. That's a room.
That would crack me up when she was like, I'm going to the closet. Cracking up. Because that's how, you know, when you're listening to the audiobook, like the voice actors, like we said, is very talented. And Dana had this sassiness to her voice and also this, like, she was from the South and you could hear that too in her voice.
Yes.
So I was like, this actress did a great job because you can hear like the latent Southern accent. Obviously, she's lived in LA for a while, so it's not, you know, pronounced, but you can hear it in the background of everything that she says.
And when she got scared or something, her accent came out quick.
Yes. And also all of her little quips and sayings, because if you've ever been to the South or have family members or met anyone from the South, we have a tendency to say things sometimes like our little ways of saying certain things that may not necessarily make sense to people.
Right.
Like how bless your heart is an insult. Just like little things that we say that kind of has you like, huh? Like if you're not familiar, you'd be like, what does that mean? That was also in there too, which I liked.
Yeah. Because again, we're talking about everything but the actual mystery, because we've never dissected a mystery book before. And I feel like now I need to like watch other people who review mysteries to see how they attack mysteries. But I will say the mystery was really freaking good. And I would actually love to see this on TV. I would have totally watched it.
Oh, absolutely. It's so entertaining and so many twists and turns. And I think it's very attractive because of that Hollywood element. And like I said, so many of the characters that she created to be like the Hollywood stars in her world were so reminiscent of the Hollywood stars we have in the real world that it was actually really amusing to try to like put it together. And just like for me, that one line just kills me, where she was just like, you know, he dates barely legal models and is not fond of showers. I was like, oh, the shade of it all. But yes,
again, I'm reading I'm going to be reading the second book, and what I will be doing this time is trying to find the Hollywood clues.
It definitely made for entertaining reading for sure. But I highly enjoyed that aspect of the story. And I also really enjoyed all of the side characters as well. From Marina to Betty to Nat, even though we only got a little bit of Nat, I'm trying to think of all of the side characters. Amari was kind of a side character, to be honest.
Amari was, and again, I picture Amari to be fine too. I also enjoyed the weirdness of the detective. And shout
Aubrey
out to
S. Grant.
Yeah, shout out to Night Owl Reader. She said, or they said, the detective dude, the way he's always serious makes me think of Mr. Bubbles from Lilo and Stitch.
Oh my goodness. Yes, I can totally see that.
But that's well, that's kind of what I'm thinking, because he was also taller than her, and he always rode a bike. So I imagine his leg muscles are strong.
So strong. He's definitely very fit and
Yeah, but
always
I
very
imagine him to be
serious.
a lot finer. Like, I feel like we didn't get to see the full glory of the detective, but I assume that the detective was finer than Amari.
Oh,
Because
I
Amari
don't see that.
also had a jealousy thing with him. So
I don't see the detective being finer than Amar. I think
I
he's very
do.
handsome, but I think he has like he's handsome in a very. I think there are two different types of attractive. I picture the detective to be like that strong, silent type. Probably has dark hair, broad shoulders, is on the quieter side. You know, like a Clark Kent type situation. Whereas Amari, I picture to be more like fine, like Hollywood, like in front of the cameras, like stopping traffic. Like when he enters a room, everyone's like, oh, who's that? Who's that? Who's that? So I think there are two different types. And I think because the detective's personality is not the norm and he's a little bit of an oddity, then that overshadows his looks, if that makes sense.
Yeah, because I mean, that's how she treated him too.
Yeah, she was just like, this man is crazy.
And then after a while, it was like, hey.
But I think that Amari, being a man, could look at him and be like, okay, he's attractive. Like, why are you guys hanging out like this again? So I think that was the vibe that I got. I was like, okay, so he's obviously attractive, but he's also weird. So that probably overshadows his look. Poor guy.
Yes, he's weird, man. Miss WLC Reader brings up another one. I love the back and forth with the hotline lady. Listen.
Oh, that was gold.
That was so like
that was gold. I was like,
this is why is this lady the trying to get the last word? The
oh, can we talk about the dueling ma'ams? Ma'am.
Well, ma'am. If you heard, well, ma'am, as I was like, listen, I had to find her.
The best part to me was when she tried to slam down the phone and then she realized it was a cell phone. And because she's trying to get in the last word and then she failed because she couldn't slam down the phone. The call was still going. That lady goes, ma'am, and then hangs up. So the lady got the last word and she was so pissed. I was like, this is comedy gold. I love this. I'm listening to the audiobook.
Like, yeah, we're talking about a murder. Yeah, we're trying to figure out who did it. But like, also, like, this, are you really arguing with the hotline lady on who can say the last ma'am? Is this really happening?
Also, another thing I loved, and this was probably the number one thing I loved about reading this book, is that it never shoved down our throats that she was a Black woman, but the things that she experienced and the way that she experienced them, and also the way she dealt with them, is so reminiscent to the way that we have learned to deal with things. Because if you got offended at every microaggression, if you got offended at everything, you would be a miserable human being. And so the way that we as Black women have kind of assimilated in a way where we deal with things as to not walk around depressed all day is so real and so relatable. Like when people always recognized her and thought that they knew her from high school, but then they found out that she was in that famous commercial. And the fact that she was cast in the commercial to be one of the most like horrible stereotypes of Black women ever, right? You know, the snapping, the rolling of the head and the sassy voice and all that. And the way she talked about it so matter-of-factly, and how like people would literally want her to say that, I don't think so, boo. Like that line.
Oh my gosh. And I'm so mad at you for doing the line.
I think that's what it was. It had something with boo on the end.
It was something with boo, and it was a chicken commercial at that.
And the way that people would come at her and be like, "Ooh, say it." Like, remember in the beginning?
Yes,
the book,
manager dude.
Those two young white men who were literally like doing a caricature of a Black woman to her and I was like, this is so real. The realness of this moment is so real. It was just, I loved little moments like that where Another moment is when she talked about Sienna and how Sienna was racially ambiguous,
Mm-hmm.
but she was guessing she was black, and because they had been friends for so long now that it would be awkward if she asked her, and so she just used context clues, like how she
Yeah.
like she was like, for example, she wasn't it pecan pie versus
It was pecan pie
pumpkin,
versus pumpkin pie or something stupid like that. But I know it
right?
made me cackle.
Right, but it was like the things that I was like, yep, yep, yep. Like baked macaroni and cheese versus out the box, like the like little things. I was dying. I was like, oh my god, this is so real. She was like, it's to the point where I cannot ask this girl at this point. She's my best friend. I cannot ask her um about her blackness at this point, but I'm gonna use these context clues.
Right. But at the same time, it was like, dang, you ain't never met a parent or nothing. Like,
No, they're out in LA. They don't have family out there. That's how it is when you move to these big cities for, whatever, to chase your dreams, New York. Like, I literally had friends when I lived in New York where I had never met anyone in their family ever because their family was like in Ohio or Oklahoma or wherever.
that's fair.
But
That's
yeah, so I loved that part. That was my number one favorite thing, was just how much I connected to Dana as a fellow Black woman, but in a sense of, it was never like shoved down my throat. It was just, she was just living her life and her experiences, and the people that she came into contact with and the way that they treated her at times, or the things that they said at times, I'd be like, yep, yep. But yeah, I think it wasn't it? I don't think so, boo. Somebody tell me if that's the
I
right
feel
phrase,
like
because
that
it's
was
going to
it.
bother me.
It's like now I gotta open the book. Hold on.
I don't think so, boo.
Because that was in like the first chapter.
Yeah, it was in the first couple chapters. I found that to
Hmm.
be hysterical. What else did I really like about the story? I really enjoyed all of the I already said, I talked about the side characters. I really enjoyed how knowledgeable, again, the writer was about just like LA things, not just the city itself and the streets, but how she was so knowledgeable on the process of what it means to be on a set, on being an actor, and that whole process of going to auditions and how scripts work and how rehearsals work. That whole side of Hollywood, right? Hollywood Homicide, that Hollywood part of it, she was so well versed in it. And I believe when she was doing her, okay, so if anyone is unaware, we are fully in support of Black Aweenathon, which is going on this entire month. And last Wednesday, actually, Bree of Locked Petition interviewed Kellye Garrett, and I watched the live, and Kellye Garrett did say she was a script writer
Oh,
before
it's
she
super
started writing
obvious.
them. It's just, it brings such a richness to the story, because you can really tell that she knows what she's talking about, which she obviously does. But I enjoyed that so much, just her familiarity with the acting process, what it takes to make a film, make a movie, what it's like to be on set, all that stuff was great. And I loved that kind of behind the scenes, behind the curtain peek. So that was one of my favorite things too. And just like, all the stuff about the designer brands, I don't know, it just felt very authentic. It brought the Hollywood to Hollywood Homicide, which I highly, highly enjoyed.
Yeah, I watched that interview too, and I was genuinely just like, I'm glad that we picked this book. Like, thanks, Vina, for buying this book for me.
Right?
Because that's what sparked it. So it was like, well, I got this book for my birthday and I want to read it.
So good.
So
Again, highly recommend the audiobook. You will not regret it.
I seriously don't. I seriously say the same. My question is to the people who read the book, what is something that you loved about it? Now, we are specifically avoiding talking about the actual mystery because we want people to go into the mystery blind and be happy. Um,
Exactly.
but we want to know what some of your favorite parts were outside of, like, it could be a part of them figuring out the mystery, but it could be something on the sidelines of it. Like this, Dana poked fun at herself a lot too, like her boob job.
She did. The way she talked about cosmetic surgery and enhancements was hysterical. especially in that part where she compared the twins, Emmy and Tony, and she was like, Emmy is still all natural. Tony has gotten work done and she looks better than Emmy. But hey, I was like, oh my God. She was just like, fuller lips, bigger boobs, skinnier. I was like, no, she did not.
I was like, I mean, you came hard.
She was like, you can't really tell the difference except when you can tell the difference. And I'm like,
right.
whoa.
I was like, sometimes some of the things that you say could get you clocked if you say things out loud.
That was so funny. She was just like, yeah, Emmy's still natural. Tony is enhanced. I was like, oh my goodness.
Also,
that was pretty
her
funny.
obsession with her pink car was hilarious to me.
That Pepto-Bismol colored car, I just kept thinking about, okay, I don't know if anyone is going to know what I'm talking about, but there is, I think it's still going. There is this makeup line called Mary Kay.
Oh, God.
And back in the day,
they would get those pink cars when they sold a certain amount.
Yes. So back in the day, it was a pyramid. Like Mary Kay is a MLM before they coined them MLMs, multi-level marketing scheme, right? Pyramid scheme. But for some people, it really worked. And if you got to a certain level of Mary Kay and sold enough makeup, you got a pink Cadillac. And that's all I could think of because the pink Mary Kay car is so ugly to me. To me, it's a very ugly shade of pink. It's a pink that can't decide what type of pink it wants to be. Like, is it bright? It's a weird colored pink. And when she was talking about her car, that's all I could think about was those Mary Kay pink cars. I was cracking up. Oh gosh.
Apparently everybody so far loved the tip lady, and her versus the tip lady
is
still like the highlight.
That tip lady was so disillusioned by everything. Like every time she would call in with a new tip, she'd be like, just like, oh my God, this lady does not
I think the part that was killing me was also because we listened to it via audiobook. Like you get like the way that the narrator was her, she sounded just so completely disinterested in tips about a murder.
Oh, so incredibly. That's what I'm saying. The disillusionment was real. Like she did not sound like she cared whatsoever.
Like at all. It was just like, dude. And then you think about it, it's like, I wonder how many phone calls and tips she's gotten.
Probably so many.
So, I mean, granted, let's not try to sound completely disinterested, but like, I could see the annoyance. Ooh, Right Now Reader says, this is a small thing.
Yes.
But I like that Mr. Bubble told her to pick him up at a specific time. And she knew she wasn't going to make it on time. And she was still very casual about it every single time.
Like, well, there was that one time where she was like, hasn't he heard about CP time? She was like,
Yeah, she was so mad that
I was rolling
her to be on time.
Remember when, because it's something that a lot of us do when she was like, I'm 10 minutes away, but she was like, well, 10 minutes away from the road that I need to get on to get on the highway.
10 minutes away from the highway, that's about 30 minutes to him. But hey, I was like, again, get it together, ma'am.
Oh my God, yes, that part was hilarious. Do you remember this part? Yes. Well, Dana called the police station and she was like, well, you need to call the tip line. And then she called the tip line. It was the same lady.
that tip line lady stole the scene multiple times. But this particular part, when she first called to report it, and then the lady told her she had to call the tip line.
Yeah.
And then she answered it as if she hadn't just answered I was like, I was like, no, fighting words, fight.
We're gonna fight today. Another thing I just remembered was from Omari's show that he was on. So Omari was on a very like LAPD type show or whatever. And at the end of every episode, it's time for you to pay for your crimes. That was his tagline.
I was like, which detective show has a tagline?
I'm sorry, that shit had me rolling because I could just picture him like when she came to watch him. Well, when she came to return his phone, and she came to set. They were supposed to meet up for lunch, but she didn't realize that he had invited her to his set. And so she got to watch him while he was filming. And I could just see it so clearly in my mind because he was arresting this homeless man. And I just see like this fine Shamar Moore looking dude. This is my mind, kneeling down with this overly serious expression, arresting this homeless man. Like, it's time for you to pay for your crime. And I just started laughing. I just could not take it seriously. I was laughing.
I felt
very
like
hard.
that was an ode to like all the different detective shows that we've had, like Law and Order, Criminal Minds,
LA's Finest,
NCIS,
all
like,
of them.
I thought it was like because like they don't have one-liners, but like, you know, on I think it's like NCIS Miami, the white dude with the glasses with the super deep voice.
Yes.
How he would always make a one-liner before it went to the credits.
He would, yes.
He'd be like, well, this one was a little too hot. Out here in the field. That's what I imagined. I was like, why did they give him this stupid pickup line? I'm like, well, on multiple shows in this category, they do that little one-liner thing.
Yes, especially in the older shows. Like, some of us may be too young to remember, but in the old shows from like the 70s and the 80s, they would definitely do those one-liners with the cheesy music while they would turn to the screen and say
there'd
something.
There'd be like this massive unnecessary explosion behind them.
Yes. Yeah. And they'd be like, another one bites the dust today. You know, like something really cheesy to the camera, directly to the audience. So I think that was also an ode to those like old school shows like that, those old school cop shows.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. I'm like,
But yes, so I thoroughly enjoyed those little things that were in the book.
Yeah, I'm actually planning on reading the second book. It's also, the second book is also on what is it called? The one that I use.
I used Hoopla. I used Hoopla for the first book, and the second book is also on Hoopla, which I've also already borrowed, because it just makes my morning commute so enjoyable because I'm just like laughing the whole time.
Yeah, the narrator of this series has like, I don't know if Kellye Garrett had anything to do with picking the narrator, but fantastic.
They need to make sure they keep her for as many books as she's going to write in this series. And that was another thing that when I was reading the series, I was like, you know what? This could be just as big of a series as, oh God, what are those books that were big a couple years ago that they made into? There was one series that was really popular a couple years ago by this white author. She wrote a bunch of books about this woman who solved crimes. They were mystery books. This is going to bug me.
See, the only person I think about when it comes to mystery is still Agatha Christie. This is why I'm trying to venture out into this world, because I can't think of, but I know who you're talking about. And isn't there like 8 books in that thing now?
Oh, more than that. There were so many books in that series. I think I had even read a couple when I was in high school. But this is going to bug me. So I'm probably going to Google it until I can find these books. And then I'll be like, aha!
Oh, it was supposed to have a third book, but her publisher folded. So they scrapped the third book. That's so not fair.
That sucks. So we're all just going to be left hanging?
Well, I mean, were we really hanging at the end of this book?
No, you're right.
I feel like they each have their own ending, but like when I say like, because we don't really talk about Black people and mystery books very often.
No.
Because when we think about these kind of things, we mind our business type situation.
We sure do.
So I think that we do, like, this makes me want to look for more mystery books with us in it.
Yeah, I agree.
I think that we fit in this genre. I mean, we fit in every genre, but we fit in this genre pretty well, and we fit in it in a way that still feels very authentic.
It's hilarious. Like the
Yeah.
way this book is written is extremely entertaining.
Yeah, I see why it won awards. Or I see why Kellye Garrett has won the Agatha Award, because I still got everything that I needed from the mystery, down to me like getting to the end and not wanting to put the book down, because I at that point I just need it had gotten to the scene at the mansion. That's all I can say. We had gotten to the
Yes.
scene at the mansion, and I was like, well, we're here, so I'm gonna just finish the rest of this book.
I know. It's you just wanted more. Like when it ended, I wanted more because that's how much I enjoyed the characters. And you can definitely see Kellye Garrett's talent as a scriptwriter coming through, because this was a very dialogue driven story.
Yes.
And the dialogue was on point.
I wasn't annoyed by the dialogue either.
Not at all. Like there was definitely plot there. Obviously, it is a mystery book, but the dialogue is really what drove the show. The dialogue is what built the characters and fleshed them out, where we understood. I mean, just from Emmy with her Valley, again, the audiobook, do it, y'all, being like WTF, and just the way she would say things and how she would word things, we knew exactly who she was. We just knew so much about her from, from her saying that, or from Sienna being like, Miss Anonymous, I'm Miss Anonymous is Anonymous of the week. Like the way that she would say things, the way we were like, okay, I know who this character is. That's impressive.
Yes.
To be able to do that with dialogue. So her script writing skills were very apparent. And I'm a sucker for a good, I like plot. Like don't get me wrong. Like I love plot driven books, but I am a sucker for some good dialogue.
I'm, for me, it always depends on like what genre I'm reading and like what is the story. Because for this one, it was like you needed the dialogue to push the story so that you can get the information for the mystery. So I was completely down. Plus, I felt like I got to see each character individually with their own personality.
Oh,
so
absolutely.
Yeah, it was one narrator, but that narrator again, phenomenal.
She did an amazing
Everybody's
job.
voices were different. I felt like I was really listening to a completely different person.
I remembered the name of the books.
What are
they were by Janet Ivanovich.
Yeah, that's
Stephanie
what the
Plum
WOC
novels.
reader said.
Oh. Dang, always coming through, Miss WOC. It's like you live in my brain, and when I can't find the words, you find them.
Right.
But I missed that. I totally missed that comment. Yes, and it was going to bother me. I was like, what were these books? There were a million of them. It was like one for the money, two for the show, like stuff like that. Like, listen, I just remember.
We gotta figure out how we can get book 3 from like this should be a series that continues, and we need to figure out how we can ensure. I mean, if Kellye doesn't want to self-publish, we need to figure out how. What do we as the book community that actually wants the books have to do to get a publisher to pick it up, and also a publisher to pick it up and let it stay Black the way that it is.
That's true.
Rephrase that, because they're good for picking it up and wanting to like be more ambiguous about the Blackness.
Yes, always.
So I wonder though, I'm genuinely curious, because I'm gonna listen to the second one, because I haven't been in a reading mood lately. So I've just been accepting that and been watching Voltron again.
Okay, nice.
Yeah, I've been watching way too much Voltron.
Good for you though.
Yeah, no such thing as a reading slump. We just don't feel like doing it sometimes.
Exactly.
But when I get back to it, I am going to put the audio book of choice will be the second book. So for those who are wondering, the second book is called, hold on.
Just downloaded it a little while ago.
I did. I just pulled it up and the app was like, no, we don't actually want to stay here for you.
The second book is called
Hollywood Ending.
Yes, Hollywood Ending.
So here's the premise of the second book, if you are curious. It says, Tinseltown's award season is in full swing, and everyone is obsessed with dressing up, scoring free swag, and getting invited to the biggest award shows of the year. But when popular Silver Sphere Awards publicist Layla Davis is killed during a botched ATM robbery, the
Ooh.
celebratory mood comes to an abrupt halt. Dana Anderson, an actress turned apprentice private investigator, uncovers the killer almost immediately. Unfortunately, what starts as an open and shut case turns out to be anything but. Layla's murder was no robbery gone wrong. Someone hired the gunman to kill her. Diving back into the investigation, Dana gets a backstage look at the world of gossip blogging, Hollywood royalty, and one of entertainment's most respected award shows, all while trying to avoid her own Hollywood ending.
Huh. That sounds definitely like more complex in the first book.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, I feel like this is like we were just talking about the same way that Janet, the same way that Agatha had multiple mystery books.
Yes.
And like, I keep using Agatha because that was the first one that deep dive in. She had two specific detectives that she would interchange between in the stories. We don't need multiple detectives. We got two detectives already.
Yeah, we already have
We're
that.
good. So I don't know what we have to do as a group. But we need to, I don't know, tweet. I don't know.
I think we just need to start talking about the book and getting more people to read the first two books and getting more support, getting the word out there. That is what gets people talking, you know? And
yeah, I think we might have to break our book club rule and read the second book as a group too.
And talk about it and just get
because our normal rule is that like we don't repeat.
We don't do series.
Yeah, we don't repeat and we don't do series because we just want to get people introduced to different authors. But I kind of feel like how dope would that be if Kellye was noted as like one of the well-known mystery authors? I would be down with this.
I would be so down because these characters deserve it.
Yeah, I'm like, because on Goodreads there is a third book. But
there is?
It says Hollywood Hack.
I feel like she mentioned this during her interview.
Right.
I'm trying to remember
I don't think it ever actually came out. That's what I'm saying. Because there's no cover or anything. Like it just says it on Goodreads. And when there's no cover and it already says it's been published, it was never.
I want to say that she's either shopping for a publisher or she is going to self-publish already. I don't know. I feel like she mentioned this.
I'm just going to go ahead and go to her Instagram and ask her. Please hold.
I feel like she mentioned this during her interview that she did with Bree from Locked Booktician last week.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember because I'm like, because what I wanted to do was I wanted to be in the interview while Bree was doing it live, but my meeting went over. So I had to watch it playback. And I kind of wish that I didn't because I wanted to ask questions.
It was a really good interview.
Maybe we could add her to the list of people that we should bring onto Black Prose to do something other than talk about being an author, but also learn about them.
I'd be down for that.
Okay, here's what happened. She tried to get it removed from Goodreads, but they're weird over there and didn't want to remove it. Listen, Black Prose Club is moving to Storygraph next year.
Yeah, we are.
We've just decided that it's a good time to go ahead and fully break away from Goodreads, and this is the type of stuff I'm talking about. That doesn't make any sense. Like the author wanted it removed from Goodreads, and they did. That doesn't make any sense.
None.
So we'll be like doing our Black Read, our Black Challenge and stuff. We'll be on Storygraph next year. Speaking of the Black Challenge, since we're kind of wrapping this up, we've been talking for a little bit. We hope that I really want you guys to read this book. Like, we really enjoyed it.
Really highly enjoyed it, and definitely get the audiobook again for the 20th time. So good.
So if you guys, we're gonna repost it, but we have a Reading Black Challenge that's been going on all year long. So if you haven't noticed, the books that we've been picking this year are books that qualify for the Black Reading Challenge.
Yes.
Excuse me. So this one technically covers a mystery by a Black author.
Yes, it does.
And this book I think it covers another one too, but that's the reason why I picked it. So you still got time to read, Black girl.
Yeah, we're going to be doing like a little update in the beginning of November.
Yeah.
Just so you guys kind of know what's coming up. As you know, the next book that we have, our book talk is on November. We'll release the November calendar at the beginning of November, like we always do. But just so you're prepared, the book talk for The Warmth of Other Suns, the epic story of America's Great Migration, will be on Sunday, November 21st. So I highly recommend that you get that book now and start reading it, because I don't know about y'all, but it always takes me a little bit longer to read nonfiction books, especially if the subject matter is kind of heavy.
Yeah.
Um,
Same.
like I can't just breeze through it. I have to like read it in parts, take a break when it gets to be too much, breathe a little bit. And this is by Isabel Wilkerson. She has won awards for her writing. I think her other book, Cast, is a part of Oprah's book club. Yeah, so this book is actually the winner, or she is the winner of the Pulitzer Prize. So it's supposed to be an amazing, amazing book, but I'm sure it's going to be incredibly hard and difficult to digest at certain parts. I'm sure there are going to be parts that make you angry and heartbroken and all of these heavy emotions. So definitely make sure you get it now and start reading it now, because it might take you a little bit longer than you think. And we want everyone to be read up by Sunday, November 21st, because this book chat will be very spoilery. We'll be talking about all the things, and you don't want to miss it.
Yeah. I'm a person that when it reads nonfiction, it takes me a really long time to read nonfiction. So I will actually be starting this book when I'm done with the planners.
Yes.
Let's see. Do we have the last event of October for Black Prose Club is this Monday? Is it Monday?
It is going to be on Monday the 25th. We're doing the Black Horror Show, which sounds a lot worse than it actually
I
is.
know.
It's not that bad, y'all. We promise.
We just wanted to name it something very Halloween-esque. That's all. But that's basically our Halloween podcast.
And it's going to be fun. We're going to be talking about like our Halloween like traditions, if you do anything around this time of year, movies that we love, TV shows, like everything spooky season, books. So it's going to be fun.
Podcast.
It's our happy, fun, light podcast. But yes,
dive into a little monster smut if we have time. You know, our favorite things is what we're doing for that.
And we will be taking the month of December off.
Yes. So
y'all are aware.
We'll have November will be like our like month where we kind of close everything down and stuff. And then like we normally do, we take December off and, you know, go enjoy our families and go do other things. Do you have any more announcements, Oshley?
I don't think so, but we will definitely be touching base with the Reading Black Challenge. We'll probably be doing way more of that on Instagram. So I think that is going to be a much more effective medium to discuss the different books that we've read that have met the prompts.
Yeah, I think that'll be fun too, because you can do like short reviews.
Exactly. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Thank you so much for joining us on tonight's book chat for Hollywood Homicide by Kellye Garrett. We really hope that y'all read it and support her as a Black female mystery writer. The book
if you
is
haven't tweeted her to tell her that you enjoyed the book and you want book 3, do so.
Just absolutely show her support. You know, we, like Brittany said, we don't have a lot of Black writers in this genre, and we definitely want to encourage them to continue, and we want to encourage more Black writers in this genre.
Also, if you have not checked out the interview with Kellye Garrett by Bree over on Locked Booktician's channel, highly suggest you go check it out. It's a great interview. In fact, go check out all the interviews that were behind the secret doors. Bree's still doing a fantastic job with Blackoween. I don't know how she's still doing it.
I don't know how
still
either.
out here doing it. So
good.
Hope you guys have a fantastic evening. Don't forget to hydrate and stay blessed.
Bye.
Bye. Oh, wait. Also follow Crime Writers of Color. All right. Now we're leaving. Bye.
Bye.